venture between Ford and Mahindra. And to share the strategy and details of the joint venture, I have with me joining us the top leadership team of Mahindra as well as Ford. Mr. Anand Mahindra, Executive Chairman of Mahindra Group Chairman, is here, right here. We will soon have Mr. Bill Ford, Executive Chairman of Ford Motor Company, and Mr. Jim Hackett, Ford Motor Company CEO, President and CEO, joining us from Detroit, and that's the reason for the 4:30 timeline. Jim Farley, who is here, is President of Ford New Business, Technology and Strategy. In fact, from Ford's side, Jim is the one who has been involved with this, shaping this joint venture and doing all the discussion on how to make the most out of the agreement or the partnership between Mahindra and Ford, and it's taken special trouble to fly all the way down, arriving at 11 a.m. this morning and leaving at 1 a.m. in the morning tonight. So, Jim, I invite you first to talk about how Ford sees this venture that we are getting into, and talk about your views on it.
Thank you, Pawan. It's really an honor to be here today at such a special occasion. Ford, over the last 5 years, has worked to build our business here and strengthen our business in India. We've strengthened our brand. We focus very much on customer ownership experience, and we brought a lot of new products to market. We have continued to work on the competitiveness of our cost. We built an excellent reputation for our quality. In fact, now Ford is the number 4 vehicle manufacturer in India, when you consider that we're number 1 on export, many years over 150,000 units. On that foundation, this new joint venture is further going to advance our commitment to India. It begins a whole new era of collaboration with Mahindra. We will fully leverage each other's strengths. We benefit from Mahindra's incredible low-cost platform, operational strength, and value-focused engineering. Mahindra benefits from Ford's experience in quality, expertise in suspensions, battery electric vehicles, emissions, and calibrations. And together, we feel that we can create a strong and competitive powerhouse. Our new joint venture will allow Ford not just to sustain our business in India, but to profitably grow our business here. The joint venture will allow us to bring value engineering on a much larger scale. It allows us to better deliver a winning portfolio for India, and also to the world's emerging markets, where the next level of growth will be. Emerging markets, in our eyes, will grow at almost double the industry volume growth. In 2024, we believe 1 in 3 vehicles in our industry will be sold in emerging markets. Much of that explosive growth comes from the utility market. We expect the size of the utility segment itself to double in emerging markets. We intend to grow significantly in the utility market, both in India and in the emerging markets. Now, this is a really exciting story. There are 7 new products, and you're going to learn about a few of them today. Ford's new business division, we call International Markets Group, led by Mark Overton, will play a really key role in making this all happen. The IMG Group was formed earlier this year. It brings together operations in 100 high-potential, established emerging markets where we have great distribution network. They range India, Southeast Asia and ASEAN, Middle East, Africa, Russia, even some mature markets like Australia. Creation of our joint venture today places India at the very center of Ford's strategy for international markets. In addition to establishing Ranger and a few U.S. import vehicles for IMG, the joint venture will add vehicles specifically tailored to India and these emerging markets. Anurag Mahindra will lead the development of these new vehicles from Ford's perspective for India and all the world's emerging markets. The partnership we're announcing today is a pivotal moment in our company's history. By combining our talents and strengths, we will be able to offer many more vehicles to more customers, more places than ever before, and deliver profitable growth for both Mahindra and Ford. With that, I'll turn it back over to Pawan. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I will sort of carry on from what Jim has talked about. Can we get the next slide, please? So, as we said, that we are announcing a joint venture to drive profitable growth in India and emerging markets for both Mahindra and Ford. As Jim has pointed out, that there are complementary strengths that both parties bring to the table, and we are hoping that we will get best of both in this joint venture. Ford obviously has the technology capability for high advanced technology, maturity in product development, as they've been doing it for over 100 years. Global sourcing is a strength that Ford brings to the table, and global market reach and know-how, where Ford has a wide presence in many, many emerging markets for a long time. Mahindra, on the other hand, knows emerging market business model reasonably well and has done well in India in terms of financial performance and in other parts of the world. Integrated product development infrastructure in India through MRV and other network of PD that we have. Strong India sourcing. Today we source about $5.4 billion worth of material in India, and with the NewCo joint venture, we will add another $1.6 billion, making it about a $7 billion sourcing that we will do in India. And of course, we know India market quite well and have very wide network in India. So we hope to derive profitable growth in India and emerging markets through this joint venture. First part of that is strengthen the product portfolio. Jim has talked a little bit about that. We have approval for a few products already, and other products are in the approval phase. And we hope to launch quite a few of them starting soon after the JV is done. But of course, that will be based on the timeline and approval process. Synergy in sourcing, with India sourcing, they just talked about $7 billion sourcing in India, and with Ford's global sourcing infrastructure that they have. Synergy in manufacturing, combining our capacity in the Anand plant, Chennai plant of Ford, and Mahindra's various plants that we have around India, gives us total capacity today of the equipment between Mahindra and Ford of about 1.2 million vehicles, which will serve us quite well for many years to come, and therefore we will not have to invest in any new capacity. So operational efficiency, learning from each other, the areas where Ford is better than Mahindra in operational efficiency, and there are areas where Mahindra is better than Ford, and of course we combine the two, and strengthening Ford channel in India with the help of Mahindra channel that we have. That process already has started, and obviously growing export from India using the channel that Ford has across the world. Just giving you a little bit of detail on the joint venture that we have. For those who are not familiar, today, Ford owns 100% of FIPL, which is Ford India Private Limited, and also owns 100% of what is known as GBS, Global Business Services. This is based in Chennai, and this is where Jim talked about the employment that Ford has in India, fairly large employment. Quite a few of the functions of FIPL actually reside in GBS and are provided as service to FIPL. What will happen with this JV? is that we will have Mahindra own 51% and Ford own 49% of the new company. And I'll come to what the new company is. And they will continue to own 100% of FIPL, which will only have the Sanand powertrain business. Sanand powertrain primarily exports to Ford's other markets, and therefore it will have Sanand powertrain business and also continue to have GBS business. However, part of GBS that is serving the FIPL business will mostly move to FIPS, except for product development that will continue to reside in GBS for some time. So the enterprise value of this deal is 1,925 crores. The way it's broken up is that there's a likely debt transfer that will happen from FIPL to the new company, joint venture company, of 636 crore, leaving a likely equity value of 1,289 crores, out of which Mahindra contributes 51%, which is 657 crore, and Ford will contribute 49%, that is 632 crores. Ownership 51-49, board will be 50-50, with Mahindra nominated chairman with casting vote. Management will be appointed by M&M with consent from Ford, and likely closing that we expect will be in mid-2000. We will be applying for CCI approval, which should take 2.5 months, and after that we will go through the process, which will probably take another 6 months, and we expect to close by mid-2020. So that completes a very short presentation. Of course, we will take any questions that you may have a little bit later. But right now, I'm pleased to welcome Bill Ford and Jim Hackett from Detroit, Dearborn, who will be joining us on video call. Can we get them on, please? Video call. So Bill is there. We see Jim Hackett. Okay, so
well, thank you, Dr. Goenka. Go ahead.
Yeah, just may I request Bill to address the media here in India, as well as many who are listening in USA, to address the media, please.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Goenka, and hello to everybody who's joining us today. It's an honor to join you today as we celebrate what's truly a new era of collaboration for Ford and Mahindra. You know, Ford's presence in India goes back almost 80 years, when my great-grandfather first established sales offices in Mumbai and Calcutta. And for nearly 25 of those years, we've been working together with Mahindra, and with today's announcement, that relationship will grow stronger. Mahindra is one of the world's most respected companies and holds a special place in Ford's history. We have shared values and a mutual respect for each other. And together, we now have the opportunity to make people's lives better in India, emerging markets, and around the world. You know, partnerships like this are important to Ford. In today's changing world, partnerships have the ability to make us more competitive and better serve customers in an era of rapid change. And this partnership is no different. This joint venture will grow Ford's presence in India as well as in emerging markets. It will also enable the Mahindra brand to expand its global presence, making this alliance a perfect win-win. And we'll work with Mahindra to take the brand to the next level. And as part of that, Ford will keep building vehicles in India, and for the world. Ford is a family company, and that comes through in the pride and passion that our employees show every day, including our employees in India. And that's why we remain deeply committed to India and our 14,000 employees, dealers, and suppliers. Ford and Mahindra both have a proud past and a powerful, promising future. And I've known Anand for many years, and on behalf of my family and the company, I'd like to thank you, Anand, for your friendship and commitment to working together with Ford. We could not be more excited about what the future holds as we enter into this joint venture, and we look forward to working together with you for many more years to come. Thank you, and now I'd like to turn it over to Anand.
Thank you very much, Bill. And thank you, everyone, for being with us here today. And welcome to the Mahindra Group's latest strategic move. Pawan's already gone through a lot of the important details of the venture, so what I'm just going to do is to try and share some thoughts in very broad terms about this new joint venture. The new company that is being born here today is built on the best foundations: friendship and synergy. Friendship, of course, is a given. It's really a pleasure to be working again with Ford. And this friendship comes reflexively to us. In fact, when I came in here, Jim noticed, he said, "You got the right colors on for your tie, both the Ford and Mahindra colors." And I told him I reflexively reached out and found the right tie today. It comes naturally to us, Jim, this working together. Now, from the strategic perspective, synergy, which I spoke of as one of the foundations, that subdivides into two S's, if you will: scale and skill. These are at the core of this joint venture. And let's take sourcing, for example. In India alone, the scale of our combined sourcing will be 1.3 times the current scale for M&M and 3 times the current scale for Ford. Let me repeat that. Combined sourcing scale is going to be 1.3 times the current scale for M&M, 3 times the current scale for Ford. And then there's manufacturing scale. We're going to be looking at common platforms across Mahindra, Ford, and SsangYong. And this could be a potential game changer. So all of this unlocks huge opportunities in cost and technology for both of us, resulting in better value propositions for our customers. And the scale benefits, frankly, go throughout the entire value chain, from product investments to the last mile, including logistics. Now, the synergy in skills is also pretty clear. Mahindra obviously brings the skills of frugal engineering, which Jim referred to, and we exhibited this skill as far back as the year 2000 when we developed the Scorpio ground up at a cost, frankly, which surprised our friends at Ford at that time. The skill in value-based engineering, combined with our knowledge of the Indian market, is frankly what we bring to the table. But equally valuable is Ford's access to new technologies and to its global reach. That reach particularly is important in emerging markets. So in short, there's an enhanced India opportunity for Ford and an enhanced domestic and overseas opportunity for Mahindra through our working together. And we expect these synergies to lead to sizable business opportunities to create new products, leverage brand and distribution assets, enter new markets, and to seize leadership. I'm particularly excited by the fact that our combined strengths are going to result in the creation of a new company that is a scale player in India with a 14% combined market share. And let me repeat this too, a 14% combined market share. And my friends among analysts will be delighted to note that this venture is designed to be EBITDA positive from the very first year. In fact, we are obviously hopeful that it's going to be PAT positive as well. This JV has provoked a lot of interest in the media, naturally, but I was surprised to find some speculative articles that implied that Ford was abandoning India, leaving Mahindra to hold the baby and the risk. And I'm happy to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. Rather than this being a parting, this is like two old friends deciding that it makes sense to move into a new house together, to pool our talents and to share the benefits. So all in all, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this joint venture between two entities who've long been working together will turn out to be a testament to the power of friendship and to the power of collaboration. As Bill said, if ever there was a win-win, this is it. May I now request Jim Hackett to share his thoughts.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Anand, and good morning, and hello to everyone. I'd like to begin by extending a sincere thank you to the team at Mahindra and our Ford team for all that you've accomplished together. Our folks worked really well together in putting this deal together. Working across companies, continents, time zones, and cultures is no easy task, and it's a credit to all of you that we forged an agreement which will help both companies win. And Anand, we appreciate your continued partnership, and we're looking forward to a very successful future together. Now, at Ford, we believe that freedom of movement drives human progress. And to continue to make this vision a reality, we need to evolve with new and faster ways of delighting our customers around the world and meeting their very different needs, all the while driving a business that's fit to compete for the future. And strong alliances like this play a crucial role in assuring we do just that, continuing to achieve our vision while redesigning our business to stay competitive and to deliver value to our global stakeholders. And this partnership provides a significant strategic advantage, as you just heard, for both of us. It unites Mahindra's expertise in value-focused engineering and operations with Ford's technical expertise, global reach, and access to future technology. That's a powerful combination. It's one that provides the opportunity to uniquely work together to deliver for our customers, communities, and business partners. And most of all, the opportunity to usher in a smarter, cleaner, and more efficient transportation solution that will improve lives in very tangible ways. Thank you, everyone, and I'll turn it back to Pawan Goenka. Good morning, Pawan.
Couldn't be a better opportunity than to have a celebratory photo now. So probably Pawan, Anand, and Jim, if you could come up, please.
So now we have time for any questions that you may have for any of us here, and Bill and Jim who are in Dearborn. And as I normally do, easy questions Jim and I will handle, difficult questions bosses will answer. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, this is Sanjay here, Sanjay from Bloomberg News. What is the kind of impairment charges Ford has taken before this JV?
Thanks for your question. We won't disclose that until our third quarter earnings.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Pramit Mukherjee from Reuters. So there is some underutilized capacity in Mahindra's currently 2 plants, and since Ford's plants are also becoming a part of this joint venture, what will happen so the underutilized capacity will be how much after that, and what will you do with that?
So let me try and answer that, and Jim, you can add to that. See, currently we are working on the C SUV, which will be supplied by Mahindra, manufactured in Mahindra plant, to both Ford as well as to Mahindra. And therefore, we'll be able to use up Mahindra's idle capacity faster because we are supplying to Ford also from the same plant. Later on, we are working on 2 products which are not yet approved in the approval process, which will be coming on the B platform of Ford, which will be made in Ford plant, the current Ford plant, either Chennai or Anand. And that will again be used both by Mahindra and Ford. So that gives an opportunity to use up the Ford capacity faster than what Ford would have done on its own. So like that, what we are expecting to do is that by having products that will be designed both for Mahindra and for Ford, but very different as far as customer is concerned, and manufactured in the plant of either Mahindra or Ford, will be able to use up that capacity well. The good news, of course, is that we still have a lot of equipment capacity left, which will mean that we don't have to make any significant investment in capacity in either Ford plants or Mahindra plants, and we'll use the capacity interchangeably between Mahindra and Ford. Anything you want to add to that?
Only incremental thought for us is, obviously, as Pawan said, we have a great opportunity for export. We've had fantastic experience exporting from India. At this point to Western Europe and North America, the EcoSport is sold in both markets. So now with this new product range, even with the growth of the local market, we see the export demand being really healthy with these new products. So quite a bit of opportunity.
How will this JV help in propelling your electrification dreams? Sanjay from Bloomberg News.
JV will help in what?
EV dreams.
Electrification. So we are currently in the process of deciding on building a new electric vehicle on Ford's Aspire platform. That, again, project is under approval right now. And once that is approved, that will be developed using Mahindra electric technology for electric powertrain and using Ford's platform of Aspire and manufactured in the Ford plant and shared both by Mahindra and Ford.
And for Ford, maybe I'll ask Jim Hackett also to comment, but the question, Jim, from the audience here was, how will this help with our expansion of battery electrics? And obviously, we have a very broad plan for electric expansion around the world. We launch 2 very important products next year. But I'll let Jim comment on our ambitions globally for battery electrics.
Anand mentioned the power of scale, and it's certain in this new world we have a tension between the adoption of electric platforms around the world. It's emerging, and it's a small percentage of total volume, but it's growing very fast. And part of what will change the adoption rate is the cost to the customer. So where we can combine capabilities here, we actually achieve that sooner and will actually enhance demand. So Ford's made a significant commitment, over $16 billion in terms of platform development with electrical vehicles. So we're learning a lot about it, and we're really looking forward to the partnership with Mahindra to speed that up.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Next question.
Yeah, hi, this
Utkarsh.
is Shelly from Business Standard. Just wanted to understand, how are these products that are going to be born out of the joint venture, what badge will they wear?
You want to do it?
Yeah. Great question. So we have the opportunity of either. Obviously, we'll have maintain the Ford distribution network, which is very strong here. And the vehicles, like the C SUV that Pawan talked about, will have both versions. So we have the optionality in either case. Both some cases we would be using a Mahindra platform with 2 top hats, and vice versa with the Ford platform, as Pawan said. So you can expect us to utilize both for both brands.
Just to clarify, Sally, there will be no joint branding. There will be no Mahindra Ford or Ford Mahindra. It will be either a Mahindra product or a Ford product. Ford product sold in Ford network, Mahindra product sold in Mahindra network.
As you clarified, so there won't be any joint branding. How will you deal with the challenge, because both of the companies have a character of their own, and when it speaks about the customer base, given the fact that it's the same technology now, you'll be amalgamating a lot. How will you make sure that the identities of both the organizations, the characters of vehicles, the customers remains intact and it doesn't end up becoming one?
Yeah, so that's a great question and a very important question. How do we maintain the DNA of both brands? I think we have a lot of experience globally in this, and we have a real bet on the iconic nameplates at Ford, off-roaders like bringing Bronco back and others. So I think we have a very high level of confidence. More and more of the technology base is not a differentiator like powertrain. It's really the execution of the product and the technology and how it comes to life. And I would say We have a 50-50 representation in this new company between both companies and brands, and we have a very high degree of understanding of what makes us Ford, and I'm sure Mahindra feels the same way. So I think we have a great base for cost, but the onus will be on us to execute the DNA, as you mentioned. I think at Ford we have a very clear idea of how we want to come to life.
I think brand obviously is very important to both Anand and to Bill. So maybe I could request both of you to give your comments on how to maintain brand identity.
Bill, would you like to go first? This is on the question about how do we each maintain our brand identities.
To me than the reputation of Ford around the world. And so I spend a lot of my time on what makes Ford a trusted and valued brand, not only in our products, but as a corporation as well. So we would never enter into a partnership like this if we didn't have the same kind of values and the same kind of outlook that we do with Mahindra. And so when you talk about executing the product DNA, I think it'd be hard to find two companies that understood their values and how to express them to customers more than Ford and Mahindra.
Just to add to what Bill said, I think he made a very important point that underlying both these brands is a commonality of values. And that's very important because people do look for values when they acquire products and services. But just to add one further dimension is that although we are sharing platforms, we're sharing technologies, sharing vehicles, don't forget that brand tomorrow is more than just the hardware. It's about an experience. It's about how do you create an experience for a consumer. And that's where I think certainly we'll be very happy to be differentiated, though our core values are the same. Keep in mind, brands of tomorrow will be differentiated by their experiences, and that's where we will have two very different experiences that we can offer to customers in India and in emerging markets.
Now, one more.
Just one second. This being such an important question, I just want to add that our experience, an example that we have in how we handle two very distinct brands, Mahindra and Swaraj, in tractor. And these are number one and number two brands in India, and yet very distinct. And they compete with each other just like Mahindra and any other tractor manufacturer.
Just one more question on the export part, and how big will that be an opportunity? What kind of markets will this new entity look at and cater to? Will there be newer markets which we will be entering as a JV and where Ford was already present? How does that work?
Great. This is such an important point you're making about how big an opportunity is for export. As I said, the experience that we've had with exporting from India has been such a positive one. Some years we were over 200,000 units of export from here into Western Europe and North America, very difficult markets. And the quality, the exceptions of the design was very high. The opportunity for us now is to sell vehicles in very different markets. The great thing, as Pawan and Anand mentioned, we have many places more than 10% market share. And in the Mexico, South Africa's, ASEAN, these are very important markets for Ford. We have a great distribution network, and now we have some fantastic aspirational products to go into that network for both either Mahindra or Ford. We're not going to share numbers today, but this is a signature part of the strategy bet here for Ford, is taking advantage of that export. And we have a high level of confidence based on our experience already.
And I agree with that, because for Mahindra, one of the biggest benefits that we get from this joint venture is access to Ford's network globally. Exporting Mahindra products as Mahindra, and also exporting some Mahindra products which are not JV product through Ford under Ford brand. And therefore, no detailing has been done yet, but the opportunities are immense. Jim, you want to take a call from, or a question?
We have a great question, Bill. Ford, this is for you. And I'll just read it. Bill, can you talk about Ford's overall partnership strategy given Rivian, also Volkswagen, and now Mahindra? How does it all work together?
So the world that we are entering into is increasingly complex, requires hardware and software, and as Anand said a minute ago, will really be differentiated by the kind of customer experience that companies can provide. And I don't believe any one company can do all of this alone, and nor should they. So we are being opportunistic in some respects, but much more so strategic as we think about our partnerships. And if you think back to what I said a minute ago, it really is about who fits well with us and the kind of values we have and that we know our partner has. And so it's, I think you'll see more of these going forward from us. We're not rushing forward to just to have partnerships. They have to be the right ones. But I do think that when we think about everything that has to be done in the next 10 to 15 years, partnerships around the globe will become the norm in our industry, I believe.
Thank you, Bill. Any other question from here? Harmas? Mike for Harmas, please.
This is a question for Mr. Ford and Mr. Hackett. You've come a full circle. More than 20 years ago, Ford had come all guns blazing into the Indian market. Clearly, it's not panned out 20 years on, just 4% market share. Can one read into this that you're just throwing money, good money, into a market that's really not paying dividends? And frankly, this is a market where you're not going to really invest much more further, and you are going to take a kind of a risk mitigating strategy, and that's with partnerships. Because we've seen other manufacturers like Hyundai, the Kia coming in with all guns blazing with a certain commitment. But I think it looks like Ford's strategy now is to sort of take a step back, and you've got other commitments elsewhere in the world in technologies, other markets and stuff like that. So just to sum it up, just your thoughts on the Indian market. Is it no longer the dream market that you once thought it was?
Thank you. I'd like to take a swing at that question. India is an extraordinary market, an extraordinary opportunity. It only gets bigger in the future. And, 20 years ago, I was in a different job, and I remember developing an important relationship in India. And so much has changed, in these trade structures in those 2 decades. Primarily the speed and impact of information across the world. The lines are blurred in ways that we never imagined back then, in terms of how software is being developed all over the world for use in these products. But also, as you observe, I think we probably made some errors in thinking about cutting and pasting what would have been a North American business model and sticking it in India. That was probably not, in retrospect, the way we would have done it. But it doesn't mean at all that we want to retreat. In fact, it's a theme that I've used constantly in my tenure in the job, which is we design these businesses to be so fit that they can compete and win. And this is about winning in India, winning in a bigger way. And in parallel, I get to meet Anand, Mahindra, and Pawan, Goenka, and I realize that it's much like the Ford family, the gentleman sitting on my right, which is these are folks that are really committed to winning in ways that you're proud of, in service of others, winning in support of our distribution channel, winning for our employees. It really is the kind of thing 20 years ago, if we'd been able to construct this, I think, we'd be even more dominant today, both of us. And so in a very positive way, I can't be more excited about this because it fits not only the fitness objective, but it gives us a platform for expansion in other markets where we know, from what you just said about some of the things we wish we had done differently in going into India, we have other emerging markets where we need to apply the same kind of understanding. So this fills that out for us. So these are truly partners of ours that we're going to go forward together and win.
Jim, you want to add anything?
I'd just like to reiterate the compliment Jim's comment. We're number 4 when you look at our export and domestic footprint here. That's a very large commitment to India. We always set up our business here to be not only here in India, but also to export. And that's a very important characteristic that we need to judge, our investment over the last couple of decades. The second thing is this agreement, this joint venture has specific investment commitments from Ford. So this is a growth story, as Jim said, and one where we continue to invest in India going forward.
So you will be investing a lot more going forward?
Yes.
Just one question, Jim, which I just like.
Just wanted to add something, Hormuz. The question prior to this was to Bill and asked him about their overall partnership strategy given Rivian and Volkswagen. So I think it would be erroneous to think that partnership in India for some reason means giving up on a market, where they are actually looking at partnerships as a strategic new way of life throughout the world. Of course, one of the privileges of being in media is you can ask questions from both sides of an equation. So if we hadn't looked for partnership, I'm sure some of you would have said, can you survive without partnerships in the future? Everyone in the world is looking at that. No matter how large you are, every large company in the world is looking at partnerships as a strategy. So I think it would be, as I said, erroneous to presume that this partnership that they're looking at as an appropriate way to now address a market after all their 20 years of learning is in fact something else in disguise. I mentioned that in my speech too. It would be completely wrong to do that. Their commitment remains as strong as ever. And if it hadn't, frankly, remained as strong, the benefits to us would not have been as promising as they are.
No, Anand, the question, no one was implying that they're giving up on India. The question was that the level of commitment vis-a-vis certain competitors. That's what I was getting at. But anyway, Jim, I just want to ask one more follow-up question is on, you'll have so much capacity, where now you've got couple of plants. Obviously, the aim is to try and fill up the capacity as much as possible. But would you be open to third-party or contract manufacturing? Because I know you spoke to Chang'an, but there was an issue with bill of process and stuff like that, and maybe that didn't work out. So question is, would you be open to contract manufacturing in some of these plants with a third party?
Okay. I'll ask also Jim Hackett to comment on your question about third party. Look, we have this is a growth story. As Anand and Pawan has said, Bill and Jim, we plan to invest. We have a whole new product range that we're talking about, and we're really busy with that plan, executing that plan. So I think that's the key for us is we have a great partnership opportunity both here in India and export. It's an investment story, and we're all in with these new products.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions. No, you already had asked one. Anybody in the back there? I'm sorry, I'm not able to see your face well, but yeah, go ahead. And then one here.
This is Swaraj from Money Control. Just one simple question. What has been the investment by Ford till date in India, including the plants that you have set up? What is the total investment that Ford has done?
A lot. No, we're not going to share specific numbers like that, but you can imagine Sanand, Chennai, also as was mentioned, GBS. India is our 3rd largest employment base in the world for Ford. Mm-hmm. So we have not only investment in numbers, but also these fantastic associates that help the company globally. We're not going to give you a specific number because it will change over time with all the new investments.
And
Jim, on the previous question, you said you wanted Jim Hackett.
I thought it would be helpful maybe to hear Jim Hackett's comments as well on your second question about our open capacity and our plans in India.
Yeah, Jim, I think you answered that perfectly, which is there's going to be so many ideas coming from this joint venture. We're going to need all that capacity for what our plans are. So I would say the focus is on growth, Mahindra and Ford. The focus is on the Indian market and those exports, and I think we're going to be as busy as we need to be. But I also would like to just make a comment about the cadence and rate of investment that we've been making. We're about to cut the ribbon, Jim, I think, on the GBS facilities, which we've made an enormous commitment to building out really the knowledge. You talk about factories; these are knowledge factories that we're creating in India because of the intelligence of the vehicle in the future and all the kinds of software that's going to be needed for its communication internally with all the parts, externally with other vehicles, and the edge, as we say, the edge computing. There's a lot of dynamic development that's going to be going on, and India is going to play a big role in that for Ford.
There's follow-up question for us?
Yeah. Now that both...
should there be any fear of job losses at either of the companies? Yeah, so even though we have equipment capacity, which is excess of the current utilization, but the manpower capacity is always in line with what the requirements are. And as you are aware that because of current slowdown, there have been some job losses in some of the companies that we have talked about, but because of this partnership, there are not any job losses.
Good evening, gentlemen, and congratulations on the new partnership announcement. My name is Seshan. I'm from NDTV Car and Bike. My question is regarding, as you rightly mentioned, that both the companies will be working on new products as well. So what are you going to doing in terms of the dealership category aspect, and also how will the service and service aspect work? Like, will there be a separate entities for these, or will the current entities work towards that?
Okay, so for us at Ford, we have a great distribution network here, and actually with Mahindra's help, we continued over the last couple of years to enhance that because of representation in some of the smaller cities and towns. We think this new product will really help build our dealer business continued. So we don't expect a large expansion of our network with the plan, because we already have great coverage. Outside of India, there may be new opportunities, especially if our network represents a Mahindra brand. And that would be some new investments, potentially. But it's too early to go into specifics about that. Certainly, the network strength of Ford in those markets is already really solid. So it would be more representation of the Mahindra brand as the opportunity.
And just to clarify that between the two companies, Mahindra and JV, while we will have a lot of synergy that we will do in manufacturing, sourcing, product development, and so on, sales and marketing team will be totally independent. And the joint venture will have its own sales and marketing, and M&M will continue with own sales. Just like, in fact, we do today for the Mahindra tractor and the Swaraj tractor.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so with that, we conclude the conference, and I must thank Lori. Sorry, you wanted to say something? No. Yeah, so I must thank Lori and you, Varsa, for getting the technology to work. It almost felt like that Bill and Jim were right here with us. So it's the first time we have tried this 9.5-hour time difference, and thank you, Bill and Jim, for getting up so early in the morning and address the media here. We had to do this time because then everybody wants to rush and get the evening news before it's too late for them. So thank you for joining us. Okay, thank you all for coming.